Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendan Traxler.
Ever imagine living underwater?
Like in a movie or something.
Yeah, like in an underwater city, like in those old sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
Well, today's deep dive is going to make that seem a lot less fictional.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're going to be taking a look at this article from Oceanographic Magazine,
Okay.
all about China's plan to build a deep-sea research facility.
Wow.
And get this, they're calling it a deep-sea space station.
Hmm.
And they plan to have scientists live and work there for like up to a month at a time, 6,000 feet below the surface of the South China Sea.
That's wild. I mean, what's the commute like on that?
Right.
That's incredible.
So in this deep dive, we're going to explore what this facility is all about, what they hope to achieve, and what it means for the future of ocean exploration.
Sounds fascinating. I'm ready to dive in.
Buckle up, because we're going deep.
What I find really captivating about this project is that it's not just an underwater lab. It's like a statement.
Oh, yeah.
China wants to be a leader in deep-sea exploration. And this facility, it's going to be done in 2030, and it just shows how ambitious they are.
I see.
Think about it. The technology they need, life support systems that can keep people alive for weeks down there,
Right.
communication networks that go through thousands of feet of water, and submersible that can handle the crazy pressure of the deep sea.
Yeah, it's like pushing the limits of what we can do.
It really is.
So the article mentions that one of their main research goals is to study cold seep ecosystems.
Cold sea.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't exactly sound thrilling.
Right, it doesn't sound too exciting.
But trust me, these places are fascinating.
They're really unique. Imagine these hidden oases on the seafloor.
Okay.
You have fluids full of methane and hydrocarbons coming up from the Earth's crust, and that creates these unique environments that are full of life.
Wow.
You have tube worms, mussels, even crabs, all adapted to living in these extreme conditions where there's no sunlight.
It's like a whole other world down there.
It really is.
The article says these cold seeps aren't just interesting to scientists. They could also be future energy sources because of something called methane hydrates.
Oh, yeah. Methane hydrates, they're a big deal.
So that's pretty important then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
China needs a ton of energy. And methane hydrates, sometimes they call it fire ice, could be a game changer.
Wow.
We're talking about maybe 70 billion tons of this stuff in the South China Sea alone.
Wow.
That's way more than all the oil and gas they know about in China.
I see.
If they can figure out how to get it out safely and efficiently, it could be huge for their energy.
So it's not just about science, though.
Right. There's a strategic side to it, too.
So there's some political stuff going on, too.
Yeah. And it makes you think about who controls the resources and how it affects the whole region.
Okay.
The South China Sea is already a place with lots of countries fighting over territory. You've got Taiwan, Vietnam, the Philippines. They all want control.
Right.
So China building this deep sea facility there is going to make some people nervous.
Makes sense. The article also mentions that this announcement comes at a time when there's more military activity in the region. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense has reported this.
Yeah. The timing is interesting, for sure.
Yeah?
It adds another layer of tension to an already tense situation.
So it sounds like this is more than just a science project.
It is. The South China Sea doesn't just have potential energy resources like methane hydrates.
Okay.
It also has valuable mineral deposits like cobalt and nickel.
And why are those important?
They're super important for all sorts of industries like tech and renewable energy.
So it's a very strategic location.
Exactly. You can see why everyone's so interested in this region.
Okay, so we've got scientific goals, potential energy resources, and political intrigue.
It's a recipe for a thriller.
It's like a real-life thriller happening right now. The article also talks about the facility itself. They mention things like advanced life support systems, permanent monitoring networks, and even a fleet of submersibles.
Wow.
What can you tell us about the technology involved?
The technology they're using is seriously impressive. Think about it. They're creating a habitat that can operate for weeks at a time, thousands of feet below the surface, and it's completely self-sufficient.
That's incredible.
They're talking about a four-dimensional monitoring system.
Four-dimensional.
Yeah, it's wild. It tracks everything. Water, currents, temperature, seismic activity, methane levels. You name it.
So it's like a high-tech observatory on the seafloor.
Exactly. It's giving us a view into this hidden world that we've never had before.
That four-dimensional monitoring system sounds really complex.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean?
It's pretty cutting edge. So think of it this way. Traditional monitoring systems capture data in 3 dimensions.
Right.
Length, width, and depth.
Okay, I follow you.
But this adds the 4th dimension, time.
Time?
Yeah. So they're creating a continuous stream of data. They can track changes in the environment as they happen.
Wow. So it's like a time-lapse video of the deep sea, but with way more detail.
That's a great way to put it.
That's mind-blowing. What kind of discoveries do you think they'll make with this technology?
It's exciting to think about the possibilities. We could learn so much more about how these deep-sea ecosystems work, how they react to changes in the environment, and how human activities might be affecting them.
Yeah. It's like a whole new frontier.
It really is.
And it's not just China that's making big moves in underwater exploration. The article mentions a U.S.-led project to build an underwater habitat off the coast of Curacao.
Oh, yes. That's another ambitious project.
Okay.
It's led by NOAA and the Proteus Ocean Group. And they're trying to build a permanent underwater research station.
Interesting.
It'll be a hub for international collaboration.
So more of a team effort.
Exactly. They're calling it a smart ocean platform.
A smart ocean platform.
Yeah, they imagine a network of underwater habitats all connected with advanced communication systems.
So while China's focusing on a single station, the U.S. is taking a more collaborative approach.
That's right. Different goals, different priorities.
So we've got 2 major players, each with their own vision for the future of underwater exploration.
It's shaping up to be quite a race to the deep.
A race to the deep. I like that. But before we get into that, let's take a closer look at the U.S. project and how it compares to China's.
Sounds good.
What are some of the key differences?
Well, one big difference is the level of interconnectedness. The U.S. Smart Ocean concept involved a whole network of habitats, all linked together and constantly communicating, sharing data in real time.
It's like the internet, but underwater.
Exactly.
So instead of one isolated station, they're going for a more distributed collaborative network.
Right.
What are the advantages of that?
Well, imagine scientists from all over the world being able to instantly access data from these habitats, no matter where they are.
Okay.
They could collaborate on research projects, share findings, and respond to new discoveries so much faster.
That makes sense. It would really speed things up.
It could completely change how quickly we understand the oceans.
Since we were just talking about the political side of China's project, I have to ask, does the U.S. project have any implications for international relations?
Oh, definitely. The U.S. has been very clear about how important international cooperation is in ocean exploration and research. This smart ocean platform could be a way to strengthen those partnerships and create a more unified approach to studying and managing the oceans.
I see. But wouldn't a network of underwater habitats be more vulnerable to disruptions? Especially in areas that are politically sensitive.
That's a good point. A self-contained facility like China's has the advantage of being more isolated and less reliant on outside support.
Right.
But the U.S. project seems to be betting on the idea that collaboration and shared interests will outweigh the risks.
It's a gamble for sure.
It is. It's a bit of a gamble, but the potential rewards are huge.
So we have 2 very different visions for underwater habitats. China's self-sufficient station focused on resource exploration.
Right.
And the U.S.'s collaborative network aimed at tackling global challenges.
It makes you wonder what kind of scientific questions are best suited for each approach.
That's a great point.
The Chinese facility, with its focus on cold seep ecosystems, seems perfect for exploring methane hydrates as an energy source.
Yeah, because that's what they're interested in, right?
Exactly. Their research could directly impact China's energy strategy and their economic future.
And what about the U.S. project? What kind of research would do well in their interconnected smart ocean network?
Their approach is better for studying things that happen across the entire ocean, things that need data from lots of different locations.
Like what?
Things like monitoring the impacts of climate change, tracking ocean currents, understanding how different ecosystems are connected to each other.
Okay.
It's about seeing the ocean as one big system instead of just focusing on isolated spots.
So it's not just about the technology.
Right. It's about using the right tools for the job.
Matching the research goals to the infrastructure.
Exactly. And we can't forget about the ethical side of things.
You mean like the environmental impact?
Yes. As we go deeper into the oceans, we need to be careful about how our actions might affect the environment.
Especially if we're talking about extracting resources like methane hydrates.
Right. There could be unintended consequences for those delicate ecosystems.
So we need to be responsible about how we develop these resources.
Absolutely. We need
Yeah.
to balance scientific progress with protecting the environment.
It's a lot to think about. We have these competing visions, cutting-edge technologies, and the potential for both amazing discoveries and unforeseen consequences.
It's exciting and a little bit scary at the same time.
It is. But that's what makes this field so interesting. We're going into the unknown, pushing the limits of what humans can do, and wrestling with tough questions about our relationship with the planet.
You said it. And in the process, we're learning so much about this huge, mysterious world that covers most of our planet.
That's a great way to put it. So we've covered the big picture, the political landscape, the amazing technology, the different approaches. But I think it's time to bring things down to earth a bit. What's it actually like to live and work in an underwater habitat?
Good point. It's easy to get caught up in the big ideas and forget about the human experience. Living in an underwater habitat is a truly unique and challenging experience.
I bet.
Imagine the psychological effects of being isolated in a small space, surrounded by water, with limited contact with the outside world.
It must take a special kind of person to thrive in that environment.
It does. It really does.
I'm picturing something like a long space mission where astronauts have to deal with the mental stress of isolation and confinement.
You're right on the mark. There are a lot of similarities.
And just like astronauts, aquanauts have to go through intense training to handle the physical and mental demands of living underwater.
Exactly. They need to be experts in diving underwater navigation and operating complex equipment.
It sounds intense.
It is. And they also need to be able to work really well as a team.
Because they're living and working in close quarters for so long.
Exactly.
It sounds incredibly demanding, but also incredibly rewarding. To experience the underwater world in such a unique and immersive way must be truly special.
It is. It really is. And despite the challenges, there's a sense of wonder and excitement that comes with living underwater.
Yeah, I can imagine.
To see marine life up close, to witness the beauty and complexity of these ecosystems firsthand, it's an experience that very few people get to have.
And those experiences often lead to amazing discoveries, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like the recent discovery of that massive coral reef off the coast of Florida.
Yes, the hidden reef. That's a perfect example of how these underwater habitats can lead to scientific breakthroughs.
Tell me more about that discovery. It sounds incredible.
So researchers were living and working in an underwater habitat called Aquarius. It's run by NOAA.
Okay.
It's a smaller habitat compared to the ones we've been talking about.
Uh-huh.
But it lets scientists spend days or even weeks living underwater doing research and exploring the area around them.
So they were down there living in Aquarius and just stumbled upon this huge coral reef.
Not exactly. They were using a combination of high-tech imaging and remotely operated vehicles to map the seafloor.
Okay.
And during one of these surveys, they spotted something unusual, a large, complex structure that didn't look like anything they'd seen before in that area.
So what do? Send out a team of divers to check it out.
Exactly. And what they found was amazing.
What?
A giant coral reef, hundreds of feet long and full of life.
Wow.
It was hidden in depths that they thought were barren. That's why it had gone unnoticed for so long.
That's like finding a hidden city in the middle of the ocean.
It really is. And it shows how important these underwater habitats are for making new discoveries.
So being able to live and work underwater to spend extended periods observing and exploring, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
Exactly.
This discovery must change how we think about coral reef ecosystems.
It does. First, it challenges our assumptions about where coral reefs can grow. We usually think of them as being in shallow, warm waters.
Right.
But this discovery shows that they can exist in deeper, colder environments, too.
And that's especially important now with climate change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As ocean temperatures rise, a lot of shallow water reefs are bleaching and dying. This discovery gives us hope that there might be more resilient coral reef ecosystems out there that can survive the pressures of a changing climate.
That's good news. So this is a story of scientific discovery, technological innovation, and a renewed sense of wonder about the oceans.
It is. It really is.
It makes me think about all the other secrets that are still down there waiting to be found.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities. With each new discovery, we're pushing the boundaries of our understanding of the ocean and everything that lives in it.
And with these advanced underwater habitats, we're just starting to unlock the full potential of ocean exploration.
I agree.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty inspired right now. This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the incredible possibilities of underwater exploration.
Me too.
And it's shown me how important it is to keep investing in these endeavors.
Absolutely. The oceans are vast and mysterious, and we've only just begun to scratch the surface of what they hold.
And for our listeners out there, I hope this deep dive has made you curious about the oceans and all the amazing things happening beneath the waves.
Maybe it's even inspired you to think about a career in ocean science or exploration.
Who knows? Maybe one of you will be the next generation of aquanauts living and working in underwater habitats, making groundbreaking discoveries, and helping to ensure a healthy future for our oceans.
That's a future worth working towards.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this part of our deep dive into the world of underwater exploration.
Sounds good.
But don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a short break to continue our exploration.
I can't wait.
We'll be diving deeper into the U.S. project and comparing it to China's approach.
There's so much more to uncover.
So stay tuned.
See you in a bit.
So we were talking about how the U.S. project is a bit different from China's.
Yeah, one thing that really stands out is the way they're all connected.
Oh, you mean like how the habitats are linked together?
Exactly. The U.S. is going for this smart ocean concept with a whole network of habitats. And they're all linked up and talking to each other, sharing data all the time in real time. It's like
The internet, but underwater.
That's a great way to put it.
So it's not just one lonely station out there. It's more like a whole community.
Right. It's a network, a more distributed and collaborative approach.
What are the benefits of doing it that way?
Well, just imagine scientists from all over the world can get data from these habitats instantly, no matter where they are.
So location doesn't matter.
Exactly. They could work together on research projects, share what they find, and react to new discoveries so much faster.
Yeah, that makes sense. It would really speed things up.
It could totally change how fast we learn about the oceans.
We were talking about the political side of things with China's project earlier. So does this U.S. project have any international relations implications?
Oh, for sure. The U.S. has been pretty vocal about how important international cooperation is for ocean exploration and research.
Yeah.
And this smart ocean platform, it could be a way to really strengthen those partnerships and create a more unified approach to studying and managing the oceans.
So it's about working together.
Exactly.
But wouldn't having a whole network of these habitats be more vulnerable? Like, what if something happens, especially in places where things are already a bit tense politically?
That's a valid concern. A self-contained facility, like what China's building, has the advantage of being more isolated.
Right. It's not as reliant on outside support.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the U.S. project, they seem to be banking on the idea that working together and having these shared interests will be stronger than the risks.
It's a gamble, though, isn't it?
Yeah, you could say that it is a bit of a gamble, but the potential payoff could be huge.
So we've got these two very different approaches.
Yeah.
China, with their self-sufficient station focused on finding resources.
Right.
And the U.S., with their collaborative network trying to tackle global challenges.
It makes you think, what kind of scientific questions are best suited for each one?
Yeah, good point. Each approach has its strengths.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Chinese facility, with all its focus on cold seep ecosystems, it seems like the perfect setup for exploring methane hydrates as an energy source.
Because that's what they're really interested in, right?
Exactly. Their research could have a direct impact on their energy plans and how their economy does in the future.
And what about the U.S. project? What kind of research would do well in their smart ocean setup?
Their approach is better for studying things that happen across the whole ocean. Processes that need data from a bunch of different places.
Like what kind of things?
Well, things like keeping track of the effects of climate change, or how ocean currents move, or even understanding how all the different ecosystems are connected.
So it's about the big picture.
Exactly. It's about seeing the ocean as one giant system, not just isolated spots.
So it's more than just the tech itself.
It's about picking the right tools for the job.
Matching the research to the infrastructure.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the ethical side of all this.
Oh, yeah, like the impact on the environment.
Exactly. As we go deeper and deeper into the oceans, we have to think about how what we're doing might affect things down there.
Especially if we start talking about taking out resources like methane hydrates.
Right. There could be consequences that we don't even see coming for those sensitive ecosystems.
So we need to be careful and responsible about how we go about developing these resources.
Absolutely. We need to strike a balance between making scientific progress and taking care of the environment.
It's a lot to think about. We've got these different visions, this cutting-edge technology, and the potential for both incredible discoveries and maybe some unforeseen consequences.
It is a lot, but that's part of what makes this whole field so interesting. We're going into the unknown, pushing the limits of what humans can do. and trying to answer these big questions about how we fit in with the planet.
And while we're doing that, we're learning so much about this massive and mysterious world that covers most of our planet.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
So we've covered the big picture stuff, the politics, the technology, the different approaches, but I think it's time to get a little more personal. What's it actually like to live and work in one of these underwater habitats? I mean, we're talking about spending weeks in a small space, cut off from the world we know.
It's definitely a unique experience. You're right, it's easy to get caught up in all the big ideas and forget about the human element.
Yeah.
Living in an underwater habitat, it's really unlike anything else. And it's definitely a challenge.
I can imagine.
Think about it. You're isolated in a tiny space, surrounded by water, with barely any contact with the outside world.
It must take a special kind of person to be okay with that.
It does. It really does.
It's like being on one of those long space missions where the astronauts have to deal with being isolated and confined.
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities.
And just like astronauts, aquanauts need to go through tons of training to be able to handle the physical and mental demands of living underwater.
Absolutely. They have to be experts in diving, navigating underwater, and operating all this complicated equipment.
That's intense.
And they also need to be really good at working together as a team.
Because they're stuck together in that small space for such a long time.
Exactly.
It sounds super demanding, but also super rewarding. You actually get to experience the underwater world that way. It must be incredible.
Oh, it is. It really is.
Yeah.
And even with all the challenges, there's something amazing about living underwater.
I bet.
To see all those creatures up close, to experience the beauty and complexity of those ecosystems firsthand, it's not something many people get to do.
And a lot of times those experiences lead to those big discoveries we were talking about.
Absolutely.
Like that massive coral reef they found off the coast of Florida.
The hidden reef. It's the perfect example of how these underwater habitats can help us make those breakthroughs.
Tell me more about how they found that. It sounds incredible.
Well, these researchers were living and working in this underwater habitat called Aquarius.
Okay.
It's run by NOAA, and it's smaller than the ones we've been discussing. But it lets scientists spend days or even weeks at a time underwater doing their research and exploring the area around them.
So they were living down there in Aquarius and just happened to come across this huge coral reef.
Not exactly. They were using this combination of really high-tech imaging and remotely operated vehicles to kind of map the seabed. And while they were doing one of these surveys, they noticed something weird. This big, complex structure that didn't look like anything they'd ever seen in that area.
So what did they do? Did they send a team of divers down to investigate?
They did.
Yeah.
And what they found was mind-blowing.
Why?
This massive coral reef stretching for hundreds of feet and just teeming with life.
Wow.
And it was hidden in an area where they thought nothing could live. That's why it had stayed hidden for so long.
That's amazing. It's like finding a whole city underwater.
It really is. It just goes to show how important these underwater habitats are for making discoveries like this.
Being able to live and work down there, to really spend time observing and exploring, it opens up so many possibilities.
It really does.
This discovery must have really changed how we think about coral reefs.
It has. For one thing, it challenges what we thought we knew about where coral reefs can grow. We always picture them in shallow, warm water.
Right.
But this shows they can survive in deeper, colder places, too.
And that's especially important now with all the climate change stuff going on.
Absolutely. As the oceans get warmer, a lot of those shallow reefs are bleaching and dying. This discovery gives us some hope that there might be more reefs out there, ones that are tougher and can handle the changes that are happening.
That's really good to hear. So this is a story about scientific discovery, cool technology, and a whole new sense of wonder about the oceans.
It is. It really is.
It makes me think about all the other mysteries waiting to be discovered down there.
Every time we make a discovery, it pushes what we know about the ocean and everything in it. And with these new underwater habitats, we're just starting to unlock what's really possible.
It's exciting. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling really inspired by all this. This whole conversation has really opened my eyes to what's possible with underwater exploration.
Me too.
And how important it is to keep exploring.
The oceans are so vast and full of mystery, we've barely scratched the surface.
And for our listeners out there, I hope you're feeling curious about the oceans and all the amazing things happening down there.
Maybe you're even thinking about a career in ocean science or exploration.
You never know. Maybe one of you will be part of the next generation of aquanauts, living and working in these underwater habitats, making incredible discoveries, and helping to keep our oceans healthy.
That's a future worth fighting for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone with a sense of hope and wonder about what's possible.
The ocean is a truly amazing place, full of beauty and secrets. And with these underwater habitats, we're just starting to understand its potential. Who knows what we'll find next?
The future of ocean exploration is looking bright, and I can't wait to see what we discover next. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. So before we went to break, we were talking about that amazing coral reef they found.
Yeah, the hidden reef. It's such a great example of what we can find where you have people living and working underwater.
It really makes you think how many other incredible things are out there, just waiting for us to find them.
I know, right? It's exciting to think about what we might uncover as we build more of these advanced habitats.
Imagine all the new species, the shipwrecks, maybe even underwater volcanoes or something.
It's like a whole new world down there. And these habitats give us a completely different perspective than just exploring from the surface.
And it's not just about finding new stuff, it's about understanding how everything works down there.
Exactly. The more time we spend underwater, the more we learn about how all the different species interact with each other.
And how what we're doing up here affects things down there.
Right. And how the ocean is changing because of climate change. These habitats are like our eyes and ears in a world that we can't really see.
It lets us watch those ecosystems up close and collect data that can help us protect them.
Exactly.
It's like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
I know, it's crazy to think about. But maybe one day people will be living in underwater cities.
Like in those sci-fi movies.
Yeah. Doing research, exploring the depths, maybe even farming or mining down there.
It sounds like science fiction, but it's not that far-fetched.
We're already seeing the first steps toward that with projects like the Proteus Ocean Group's habitat.
They're really trying to build a self-sustaining community underwater.
It's like a modern-day Atlantis.
But this time it's all about sustainability and exploring the ocean.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe someday living underwater will be totally normal and we'll be able to really tap into the potential of the ocean.
That's an incredible thought. It's a future with a lot of possibilities, but also a lot of challenges.
For sure. We need to be really careful about how we do things down there and make sure we're not messing things up.
We have to balance progress with protecting the environment.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a sense of awe and excitement for the future.
The ocean is vast and mysterious and full of wonder. And with these underwater habitats, we're finally starting to unlock its secrets.
Who knows what we'll find next?
The possibilities are endless.
One thing's for sure, the future of ocean exploration is bright, and I'm excited to see what we discover.
Me too.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of underwater exploration.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deeper into the wonders of our planet.
And never stop asking questions.
That's what it's all about. Thanks for listening.